Welcome to my channel, and thank you for attending and being interested in what I have to say. Today I want to tell you something that I'm very sure you've never heard before. Now, many of you have heard all the things about the moon landing, all the things that made people suspicious, all the issues such as the shadows on the moon, the history of the moon landing, what happened to the astronauts who were supposed to go to the moon. They were all killed in one fell swoop. Many people believe that people didn't go to the moon. Many people believe that it's self-evident that they did go. But some people, like me, do not believe either way. I believe both sides have a case to state. I would say that the people who believe that we did not go to the moon have a more of an overwhelming case to state. The people who believe that we did go to the moon is mainly like, you saw it on TV, how could you not believe it? It's really like, well, the scientists told us it happened, we saw it with our own eyes. But beyond that, there's not much proof that they have. Another big proof that people say, and I considered for many years, was that, what about Russia? Russia was competing with the USA. If the USA faked the moon landing, Russia would have pointed it out. They would have been glad to point it out. But what I understand is that at that point, NASA was funding the Russian space missions as well. NASA was funding the Russian space programs. So they had no interest in trying to rub NASA up the wrong way. So if that were true, that changes everything. It means literally there's no proof that they went to the moon besides that everybody saw it on TV. People who are well versed with this conspiracy theory know a lot of things. There are a lot of things. It's not just the photos, it's the radiation in space. To me, that used to be the biggest factor. I was thinking, it was never discussed with the missions, the Apollo missions. What about the radiation? How did they get through the Van Allen radiation belt? Remember, space is not just a vacuum of nothingness. Space is filled with radiation. We are protected from the radiation because we have atmosphere on our Earth. There's an atmosphere, and so we are protected from radiation. But you're not protected from the radiation outside in space. On the moon, there's constant radiation, bombardment of space debris. There are all these things that make it, now looking back, there are many, many issues that need to be addressed in order to convince some people that did they really go to the moon? There are a lot of issues to address, and they simply dismissed it for years. They got away with people believing the moon, and simply by saying, if you don't believe it, you are crazy. I remember growing up, the moon landing conspiracy was really associated with crazy, wacky people, and it was really extreme. It's like, those are some of the most craziest people in the world. Did you know there are people who believe that we did not go to the moon? Now that's wacky. But now it's not like that. It's just, there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. But today I'm going to discuss something with you that is something I think you've never thought about. There's an issue related to the moon landing, or there's an issue related to the moon landing that's not related to facts or historical evidence or any such thing. This is related to simple common sense. I think if common sense dictates something, you don't need proof otherwise. Common sense is something that is really, it saves you a lot of trouble. If common sense can, if you know something for common sense, why should you go and spend, time and effort to prove it otherwise? So here it goes. So here it goes. In 1953, the first successful expedition made it to the top of Mount Everest. Sir Edmund Hillary made it. He was the first man to reach the summit of Everest. But did you know how many people tried before that? And not just people, expeditions. You know what the expedition entails? It's like over 400 people who work on a 3-month project to get 2 men to the summit of Mount Everest. It's a very big feat. But nevertheless, there were 10 unsuccessful, recorded, organized expeditions that failed. That means you had all these people going to the moon. That means you had all these people participating in a 3-month project, expedition, that failed. Either they had to return because of bad weather, people got lost, maybe some climbers reached the summit of Everest but they couldn't come back. Who knows, but there were more than 10 expeditions, recorded, organized expeditions that failed. So, you want to tell me, do you want to tell me that the Americans made it to the moon on the first attempt, made it successfully made it to the moon and successfully made it back in great shape? What do you think? It seems a bit Hollywoodish that America does all these outlandish, amazing, unrealistic things in Hollywood, but also, in real life, apparently they made it on the first attempt to the moon. Whereas realistically, people couldn't do it even to Mount Everest after the 10th time. So I would say that if we find out that there were several attempts to go to the moon and they failed, there was an attempt where they put a man on the moon but he couldn't come back, he had to die on the moon, maybe I would start believing it. It would seem more realistic, right? Does it seem realistic to you that the Americans made it on the first attempt completely successful? I would say it doesn't sound realistic, especially involving Americans and Hollywood. The same theme has been proclaimed to us over and over again. Hollywood saves the world. Hollywood does all these miracles, world-saving things in every Hollywood movie. So, in terms of that, I would say they did not go to the moon, because this would be my main reason. The hell with all the facts and the shadows and the radiation. Those things are disputed, and NASA has even lately come out and tried to explain to people that addressing those issues, they actually have an argument about the shadows that crossed on the moon. They have an argument for all those things now. But I think common sense would tell me. Common sense would dictate me to call bullshit. So, thank you for listening to my little rant, and thank you for participating. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any comments, feel free to state your argument. Subscribe, of course, and support me on my Patreon, my Instagram, and TikTok, and all the best for you this week, for you and your family, and have a great day. Thank you.